All right, so just wanted to make a quick video just to talk about something that had played in my mind about the last 9 years of my life, and just thinking about how time has a way of revealing things to us that there's no way that we could have known any other way. So I was just thinking about the past 9 years of my life, and I think about where I was headed in December of 2010. So December 2010, we were still living on Brad. We had found out that the owners of the house were not going to renew our lease. We needed to figure out where we were going, but we were really on a really dark path. And so then I believe that was God's intervention into our lives. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure of it. And so over the next year, a lot of stuff happened. It happened kind of fast forward. Sometimes when I think about it, it's like 3 or 4 years happened in that 1 year of 2011. January, February, March, a lot of things happened. And then by the end of 2011, I had started a business, Truth and Reality Cafe, and then moved to Houston. So I'm living in Houston by the end of 2011. And so I began working at Texas Southern University, and so this is where the 9-year mark is. So I started a network marketing company, and I began to build and I began to network, but also began to meet different types of individuals from all over the world. And so meeting these different types of individuals and then reading these books. So between September 2011 and May of 2013, I probably read like 80 something books. All right, so not all of them were actually read. I probably read about 20 actually physical books, and the rest of them were audio books, and I may have completed more than 80% of them. But so in that time when I'm meeting all of these different people and reading all of these books, this completely changed my life. And also I had developed spiritually to where I was looking for a good church. And now I was living in Houston, so I knew who Joe Osteen was, and so I would go to Lakewood. But I would also visit other churches because I'm looking for something on the inside of me to be filled. And none of the churches that I was going to was really giving me what my spirit required at the time. And so then time passes on, and by the November, so it was November 12th, 2013, we were opening up the bank account for Inspire, Build, Motivate, and everybody, the treasurer needed to be there, and so I needed to go to San Antonio. Now God spoke to me when I was on my way to San Antonio and told me 2 things to do, and one of the things was to find one of the ladies who was our neighbor when we lived on Brad. And so, shout out Mary Swan. Yeah, that's my sister in Christ. I'm forever grateful for her persistence, because when she was our neighbor, she invited us all the time. But so God told me to find her and do whatever she said. So I end up, so December 2013, I start going, I visit the church because that's what she had said that I should do. And this catapulted my life spiritually. This was a 6-year span, but during that 6 years, there was a lot of things that I learned and seen and was able to apply to all of the things that I learned in business. Now, we're talking about a time span from 2011 September to the last 6 years into that. But let's look at real quick at where I was in 2010, because then when we look at where I was in 2010, then everything seems to play out how I see it, as there's no way naturally that I should have ended up here where I am today. So we look at in 2010, to put it lightly, let's just say our house was a trap house, and that there may have been others like it possibly. Let's just say that. Let's just say I was an ignorant thug, because that's the way I like to describe it. Let's say, so for the first part of my life, I probably started doing, who knows, I probably was a criminal my whole life. I'm pretty sure since second grade or first grade, unfortunately. It's a long story, but we're not going back that far. Let's just go to the 9 years from when I got kicked out of the military. So anybody that knows me from high school or before knows that I didn't have any discipline. So I go into the military, I get kicked out of the military. I was joke with people about how I got kicked out. I tell them, I think I broke a record. You know, I was in the Navy, and I think I got either 5 or 6 captain's masts. And they in a year, they asked me how I did it in a year, and I'd be like, well, actually, I did it in 10 months. And it's because I didn't have any discipline. It's really, and so I got a little bit of discipline coming out of the Navy. So in 2001, I'm in Florida, but then I moved to Texas in 2002 in August. So in that part of my life was so dark. I mean, but we did everything. I mean, now that I look at it in retro, we believed what the hip hop music was telling us was life, and we were living what we thought they were communicating to us, because that's not even a real life. It was unrealistic. A lot of fun. We enjoyed it, but there was we got no benefit. That there's nothing I did over that 9-year period from when I moved to San Antonio, Texas, to where I was Bratton in 2010. That or when I was in Houston in 2011, which is that 9 years. There's not something other than the relationships that I built between some of the individuals. Those things, they're still there. Very few, so maybe 5 or 6 through the thousands of people that we met and did business with. So over that period of time, that little bit of discipline that I got from being in the military, I was able to develop a little bit by little bit. And then, of course, in 2009, 2010, I went to University of Phoenix, took some psychology classes. So that gets us back to 2011, where I had been a criminal from basically 7 years or 8 years old, all the way to 30 years old. So we're talking 22 years of really an intelligent individual, but I never had the structure or anybody that really sat me down and taught me the things that I needed to know and apply to my life to be able to show that I was intelligent, or to be able to prove to myself that I was intelligent, because I made very dumb choices. I made a lot of dumb choices up until 2011. I've made some dumb choices since then too. So bring us to these 6 years from when I started going to church. So in 2013 December, which I just celebrated 7 years. This past Saturday. Today is Wednesday the 9th, and I celebrated 7 years Saturday the 5th. So I'm grateful for this past 7 years in the time. When they say God will redeem the time, the things that I learned, I think it would have took my entire lifetime had I started in church, grew up in church, but there's no way to go back and prove that. But I mean, so the things that I've learned from studying scripture and sitting under Pastor Pearson, and it just the way he lives his life and the way that he teaches and the way he genuinely believes what it is that he's teaching, and he teaches it in a practical way that if you're paying attention, it only makes sense. So I rededicate my life to Christ, and then I actually get what I say I got saved for real. In late April of 2014, I had an awakening experience. But we the businesses that I started in 2011, and then when we started the nonprofit in 2013, 11, 12, 13, when we started the bank account, and of course in May when we started the nonprofit, I want to use that as the anchor point for the 9 years that I'm talking about. I know it's a gap of about a year and a half or 2 years there, but I want to use that period of my life as the anchor point for 9 years, because I didn't even have a personal relationship with Christ at the time, but I knew he was real, and I knew God was real, and I prayed to God, but I didn't own a Bible. I had studied theology a little bit in my 20s, and of course, because I used to hang out in the libraries. But so we use that as the point where we're going to look over the last 9 years, and I want to do this because the next 9 years of my life are going to be another true advancement, and I wanted to peek in on where I am right now and actually record this moment and actually share it in a way, because people that knew me elementary, middle, high school in Panama City, Florida, you know, those people that knew me then, they obviously know a different me that doesn't even exist now. And then the people that knew me in Texas, with all of the different nicknames that I had in different areas that I lived in, and all of the different things that we did, excuse me. So sometimes when I think about the stuff that I did, I'm so glad that God forgives me, because it was really hard on me forgiving myself for all of the things I did to so many different people. Like it's sometimes mind-boggling, and it's heavy sometimes. But I know that I've forgiven myself, and I hope that if any of you see this, you know, if I harmed you. Some people may not, because I may have concealed my identity when they were hurt. But I just ask that y'all forgive me too. I'm not that person anymore. But that part of that dark part of my life was changed to now, where I don't even understand how I did those things and thought that those things were okay. So a lot of times, looking back over these last 9 years, we say in 2011, I was an ignorant thug that got involved in network marketing, which caused me to read a lot of books, which caused me to get around people, that caused my spiritual life to be jump started. I was in network marketing. I was working with Shelton Bowles, who my brother was he is a strong spiritual brother, and so therefore his direct upline was Brett Shoemaker and Holton Buggs. So I'm 3 levels from Holton Buggs, the greatest network marketer of all time, as far as I'm considered, and that was that network of people. It jump started my life. Business start my life. Personal jump started my life spiritually because of the man that Shelton is. And now that I'm in the light, and now that I've had 9 years of real life application training in business, I've probably started, I don't know how many businesses since then. I'm not a millionaire. I don't even have hundreds of thousands of dollars, but we have the foundations and the structures to where we'll be there within the next 6-7 years. So that's why I'm making this video, because the next 9 years, I want to be able to look back on this 9 years from now and be able to say, look, I knew I was going to be here. And I knew, because I made the decision that I'm going there. And making that decision to go there, you know what I'm saying, is the most important decision that we make in our lives. We have to say, okay, who am I? And then you have to dig deep in and be able to be honest with yourself and transparent with yourself and others about who you are. You have to, if you can't be yourself, then there's no way that you're going to be able to reach self-actualization. Because you have to be able to meet all of those needs, and you can't meet the second level of needs in Maslow's hierarchy of needs of safety and security if you live a deceptive life. You have to embrace yourself. I had heard something one time that if you look at the top 20, if you look at some of the top billionaires here in the United States, how it would seem that they're eccentric, but they have the certain skills, and they know that they have other people that interact with people for them because of the way that they are, but they've embraced who they are. And so we have to, once we can identify who we are, then we can embrace who we are, and then we can decide the real us, where the real us has our passions and our energies, and then be able to exert those energies and passions into creating a positive future for ourselves. And so this mark here of 9 years from when I got involved in network marketing and got exposed to business people. I mean, at that time, Holton Buggs was making, I think, like $12 or $15 million a month. It was something crazy. And you seeing this type of life be lived out by regular people, it shows you something. But then the things that it taught me, when I learned morals and values and the principles that we find in the Bible. Shout out to Stephen. Stephen, I don't know who you are. I don't know if you'll ever see this, but shout out to Stephen, who came into the meeting when we were having our first meeting. Me and Daniel. Shout out to Shout out to Daniel Freeman, you know what I'm saying, my first VP, you know what I'm saying. When we sat down, he came over and we asked him his input because we was looking at the principles that we're using. He said the only principles that we should be teaching are biblical ones, and so then that angled my life in a way to where I've spent the last 7 years reading and studying the Word of God and applying the Word to my life to where I now walk and I live in the light. And it's an amazing thing to be able to experience this type of life that I'm experiencing now. I mean, the peace, the joy, the soberness, the relationships I'm able to enjoy, especially the relationship that I'm able to enjoy with my wife. You know, we may not always have the best time, but I mean, in several years of marriage, we have had maybe 4 real fights. Like, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? But it's because of the life that's been developed with discipline, business, and spiritual. And now, in actualization of who Jeremiah Van Wagner is, I'm just honest and transparent about the things that I did, and I was sitting down and I was thinking about the things that if I had any regrets, and I had one regret. My one regret in life is I just didn't practice better oral care. I wish I would have had, took better care of my teeth. But so, in all honesty, but being honest and transparent, sometimes, it does hurt me, all of the things that I did that hurt so many people. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it's a sober moment, and it's that time that I'm thankful for God's mercy, thankful for His grace. I'm thankful for His love, because had it not been for His mercy, I couldn't say now that, wow, you know what I'm saying, to all of you, you know what I'm saying, I look in my camera and say, I'm sorry, genuinely, you know what I'm saying, that the things that I did, I don't know if I'm definitely not proud of them, but I know that some of them may allow me to help people in a similar situation, but I just really want to say that 9 years ago, I was an ignorant thug in the trap. Today, we're traveling around the country, changing lives, and building businesses. 9 years from now, there's no way for me to know where I'm going to be. But I can guarantee that it's going to be catastrophically different, to where, looking back on this video, I'm going to say, I'm glad I did that. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. You know what I'm saying? Keep up, keep track, you know what I'm saying? And stay blessed.